Welcome to a new episode of Glassroots' Workerspace Lecture Series. Glassroots is a nonprofit glass art studio in Newark, New Jersey that works to ignite and build the cultural and economic vitality of our community through the glass arts with a focus on youth and young adults. The Workerspace Lecture Series is dedicated to strengthening craft entrepreneurs and small business owners with inspirational stories and practical advice. Thanks to the New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives and their ongoing support of our work, we're able to provide this program free of charge to our students and larger community. If you'd like to support our ongoing work, please make a donation online at glassroots.org/donate. Thanks and enjoy the show. Welcome to Glassroots' Workerspace Lecture Series, a key program in our virtual studios. My name is Yaz Graham, and I work in the flat shop at Glassroots. We're so glad to resume some in-person programming at our studios in Newark, including public classes, private lessons, and studio rentals for glass artists, following all local and federal public health guidelines. We continue to acknowledge what's going on in our communities and our country and recommit ourselves to making our art with and for our community in support of social justice, to hold programs that create economic opportunity, and to tell our students that they can be agents of change, to open their eyes to opportunities and to encourage them to rise up and fully embrace their potential. Today, I'm excited to introduce to you Jackie Granchamps from Cecile's Bath and Body. Thank you for coming with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So a little backstory, can you just give us like a brief overview of what Cecile's Bath and Body is for people that may not know?
Sure. Cecile's Bath and Body is a maker of handcrafted skincare, where we start with whole natural ingredients, raw organic shea butter, cocoa butter, and really kind of focus on doing everything by hand and kind of doing it the old way. So we use a method of heating and cooling to create our body butters. We use cold processed soaps, which is, how they did it like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and it was inspired by my Aunt Cecile, who was a lover of all things beautiful, and everything in her home was like gorgeous. So that's, it's inspired by her.
Everything in the home, so including like furniture, paintings on the wall.
When I tell you that it was like the gilded furniture and like the white Christmas tree that was like 12 feet tall with like all the balls, and Thanksgiving dinner. The spread, the table was like gold tablecloths and centerpieces and like 3-4 plates stacked up, and the whole set of like silverware, like, yes.
That's an experience.
Glasses, goblets, like, but she just loved that kind of like opulence, and her food on point. No half stepping at all. The food was like, when you ate at her house, you were like licking the plate, like like fantastic. So yeah.
I think there's something to be said about like the direct correlation to like how a person's home looks or like how they present themselves and their attention to detail. Yes. Like there's clearly something there, and that's like probably why the food was delicious too, right? And also probably how it's presented to you is like, this is going to be an experience. I want you to cherish every moment of that. Yes. I think that's really cool. I know a tiny bit about the process of like soap making, but not a ton. So I'm not going to claim to be an expert at all. But I think, even the way you just spoke about it sounds kind of scientific in a way. But can you speak to the creative process of that?
It's there is chemistry involved. People always ask me if I'm a chemist. I have never taken chemistry in my life. So it is very much intuitive, like thinking, feeling. It's kind of like what I would imagine like working with clay. Like you work with different types of clay, and you just kind of you figure out how it behaves, like how much water this particular clay takes, or how long, like how to touch the clay. So soap making is very much like baking a cake, right? So you can give anyone a bag of flour, but not everyone can make croissants. And, like it takes a lot of technique to really kind of make it. So you start with olive oil, just, olive oil out of the big can or whatever that you get it from. And then you add different oils to give it different properties. So for instance, coconut oil makes it very bubbly and moisturizing. Shea butter will make soap creamy, but a little bit hard. If you want a very long lasting bar, you add palm oil, which makes it harder, but palm oil can be harsh, but it's actually really great for hair and bringing out your curl pattern. So like you have to kind of, to figure all of these out and do a lot of testing, and the
Yeah.
combinations are very exact. Sometimes like one of my soaps has like 4% of a certain oil, but that 4% makes that soap so long lasting. It makes it really great. And, that's the kind of thing. And you just kind of use lye, which is the chemical. So it's water, lye, and oil. And water and oil don't mix, but lye is the binder that creates that. And you kind of mix it up like muffins, or like a cake batter. Yeah, you mix it up and you add, things. Again, it's all about when you're adding things. So if you're gonna start with your base formula, like when do you add the fragrance? Do you add it in the beginning? No, because it's gonna ruin your soap. You have to add it like all the way at the end,
Mm,
or you add a certain oil to enhance it. Like it really depends on where in the process you do it, because you won't get the same result depending on where you add it. So, and then you just pour it into molds. You wait 24 hours and you unmold it and cut it and you wait for it. You just watch it. You know,
I love
you
how you
talk
can
to
just like rattle off that recipe essentially, like from memory. That's so great. It
I
is
love
a,
it.
it like shows how involved you are in the whole process, right? So you're not sending off your recipe to some factory and then asking them to make it. You're
Yeah,
doing all of it by hand, and I think that is
yeah,
beautiful. And it makes it, I don't know, it gives it more of like a personal feel, like a mom and pop shop, because that's essentially what it is, you know?
yeah, definitely. And I also feel like, and this is why I love the arts, is like everything that you create yourself, your energy is infused into that product.
Hmm.
Like people actually, I truly believe that people actually feel my energy once they use the product.
That's beautiful. I can relate to that. Like as an artist who paints and things, like when I'm sending a piece off to someone because they bought it or they commissioned it, I kind of feel like I'm like, okay, you're off into the world now, be free.
Yeah,
But it's like a part of me is always going to be in that piece because I created it with my hands, like nothing to something. I think that's really
exactly.
beautiful.
Yeah,
um I think, I mean, going back to like you being able to rattle off the recipe of these like different, different products that you have that you're selling.
yeah,
You mentioned you didn't take any chemistry classes or anything that would like inherently say, oh, she's probably going to do this as a career.
yeah.
So it started off as a hobby, correct?
It did start off as a hobby. I work in marketing as a career.
Okay.
And, I went to school, I got my master's in marketing strategy. And I worked in marketing for a long time, but, corporate life, a lot of times marketing is the first department to get laid off because they look at you as a
Mhm.
cost center. So I was between jobs, living on $400 a week unemployment. And it was a holiday party at my sister's house, and I had no money. And
Mm.
so I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And a friend of mine, was talking to a friend on the phone, and he's like, maybe you can make something, like, I was really good at cooking. I was really good at baking. And I'm like, okay. And I had just come back from the grocery store. And I just kind of looked around my kitchen as I was on the phone. And I had gotten a couple of boxes of that Morton's kosher salt, like in the big blue
Mm.
box. It was buy
Yeah.
one, get one free. So I was like, okay. I had ginger, I had limes, tangerines, rosemary, all these kind of herbs. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get off the phone. Let me try something. And so I took a, took a cup of that Morton's kosher salt and put it in my mini blender.
Mm.
Um, Peeled the rind off a tangerine and squeezed the juice into the salt. stripped off some thyme and just blended it just to see what would come out. And out came this incredible, fluffy, amazing, like concoction. I was like, oh my gosh, and I scrubbed I was like, wow, like this is amazing, And so I started making like different kinds. I think I made about 5 or 6 different kinds of salts. Rosemary, I made some with tea tree. I
Oh,
had
wow.
essential oils at home. And that was really the beginning of me making things by hand. I just, I got some jars, some little mason jars. I put little ribbons, and the family just loved them. They went crazy. They were like fighting over them. I was like, wow, okay, and
It's something here.
afterwards, yeah, like afterwards, they were like, can you make that again? Like, that cleared up my acne. Like, I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, all right, I could do it. And after that, like I said, I didn't get a job probably after that for another 3 months, 2 months. And so in that time, I just took a private soap course. I had somebody 2 days, and I learned all about soap making in an 8-hour day. And then the next day, she taught me about body butters and salts, and really kind of dug into essential oils. And so since then, I've just been continuously taking classes, but also like really studying, reading books, and a lot of testing, a lot of testing.
That's really cool. I did notice on your website, you have a little, I can show it to you. You have a portion where you show like ingredients and explain like what they do for the body, which I
Yes.
think is perfect because and just a little background on my relationship with like bath and body products. I similar to you, just like to experiment in my kitchen. So it's like whatever is here, we're gonna see what happens when I put these things together.
Yeah.
um and not to sell or anything, I just want to play around, but
Yeah.
in doing that, you learn a lot about the ingredients as individuals and how they pair with other ingredients.
Yeah.
um, and then you kind of learn like what works best for you, and then like you said, with offering that to your family members and your friends and having them go try it out on their own and come back and tell you their, basically they didn't ask for it, but tell you their reaction to it. It tells you
Yeah.
how it works with their chemistry. I think that is probably the best part about your brand, is like you're learning while you're experiencing this luxury product.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for picking that up,
I think
because
that
I sometimes I feel like it's a little too much information, but I really want people to understand, like, you know, this world is so perfectly designed. Every single thing that we need to live a healthy, long life is already here on the planet. Like all the extra stuff, like all the chemicals that we use, all of that is a copy of the original. And it's really driven by cost. Using, something like Himalayan pink salt with so many trace minerals, like that actually replenishes your body. It really actually like gives your cells things that it needs that we can't get in our diet. And it's just a salt. You could take as many vitamins as you want, but if you're dehydrated, then it's not going to help you, you know. So
yeah,
very, very glad.
yeah, no, I always appreciate a brand that I can like learn from, or like get some kind of personal experience with. So I think that is
Yeah.
a really beautiful part about your brand. And I'm definitely buying something after this.
Thank you.
um, I wanted to ask you about the pivot, because you spoke about basically your pivot from being laid off
Mm-hmm.
and finding this new hobby that turned into a business that you learned your passion was kind of already tied to because of your aunt's um, like love for beauty, and also you just kind of liking these things, probably not realizing it could become something else.
Yeah.
And so that's the first pivot, right? At least from what we know. And then to
Yes.
now pivoting with 2020 and all the different changes that happened in that year, like how can you speak to those two things, and are they different, are they the same, like how do they feel to you as a business owner?
It's interesting. And I think that they are different, but they are still the same. Because, when I first started this, it was because I needed something to do because I wasn't working, right? And so now, again, after being laid off because of COVID, I'm like, this is happening to me again. It's like 9 years later, and again, this is happening. The last time it was the financial crash or the markets crashed, Lehman Brothers, all these people went out of business. And it's just, you realize, like, the older I get, there are all these ups and downs, and these things are going to keep happening. So you yourself have to have some kind of backup plan. So this time the pivot was, kind of leaning into it this time. Like I had everything that I had already been developing for all of these years. And one thing I will want to mention is that in order to build my business, I had a system. So I would work contractor jobs for like 9 months, a year, and then I would be off for 6 months, and I would work on my business, and then I would go back to work.
Okay.
So that allowed me to make money, stack cash in that time, and then go back to my business and then do brand work, then develop some new products like in between.
Right.
And I could go on a parallel path, and I could pay for everything that I was doing in the business while also, kind of like keeping my foot in the corporate world. Career wise, I didn't climb because of those stops and starts, but I was able to develop my business in a real, like, holistic way, and kind of change with the market, and then do a lot of testing. So every time I developed a new product, I could do the market testing right away, and then iterate and say, okay, this is the final product. And most of my products came out of a lot of those markets, custom work and things like that. So this time, like I said, when everything fell apart, for all of us,
Yeah.
I had something to fall back on. And so I leaned into Cecile's Bath and Body as, okay, this is my exit plan from corporate America, depending on work and things like that. I'm not saying that it's making that much money, but I think the momentum is there. And especially now, the landscape is so different, like, it's like there are opportunities now for Black women that never existed before. In the past 12 months, the world has opened up, and it's like they just discovered us, but we've been here.
Yes.
Like, I've been here doing all the work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, doing all the work, so underappreciated. And it's like all of a sudden, like, money is coming out of just dropping out of the sky. So now my job is to get a big old net and be like,
all
okay,
the blessings. Yes.
just collect them all, gather it all up. And when the opportunity comes to you, you must be ready. That is really the thing. You have to be ready, because the T-Mobile thing came out of the sky. I didn't call. I didn't know anybody. I didn't apply for it. They emailed me out of the blue with the wrong subject line. I mean, I was like, this is a scam. I'm like, it's a scam. And the woman was very persistent. And she's like, well, let's just have a conversation. I was like, all right, fine. I'm like, I'm just going to be nice. And yeah, when I found out they wanted to film me for real, and they wanted to pay me too. Oh, I was like, you could. She was like, well, but if this is not for you, I was like, what's okay. You could pay me in Chase Quick Pay. You can pay me in quarters. I don't mind. However you want to do it.
Whatever, as long as it still pays. Like,
that's fine. But when the opportunity came to me, I was ready. I had my product line. I had my signage. I had the website. I had, tested all of these things. If I had not been working all of those years, I would not have been able to take advantage, and I would not have been able to pivot.
And that's what I was just going to ask you about, or just piggyback on, is the amount of time something takes. I think people don't realize, like, you said in the interview, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. And I was like, yes, finally someone said said the exact words. Even
It's
like we look at
true.
celebrities who are singers, dancers, actors, whatever, and we're
Mhm.
like, oh, they just happen to show up overnight. We have no idea the groundwork they put in before getting there.
Yeah.
And that applies to everything else. And
Yeah.
that's beautiful that you were able to even talk about that right now with the first pivot and now this happening, this other shift happening so smoothly because of that one. So it's like it didn't
Yeah.
happen on accident. I think everything happens on purpose, and that's beautiful.
Yeah. But the other thing is that if I had gotten this opportunity 5 years ago, I would not have been ready.
Right.
Like I wouldn't have what I have now. And like when you say like these singers, I always think about Justin Bieber, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about him, like I don't like his music, but I
Uh-oh.
always remember that they found him on like YouTube from when he was a
Right.
little kid. But he had been making these videos and like doing these covers and doing all these little things so that when they found him, he had like a whole array of different songs and different examples of what he could do. And look at him now. I mean,
There's
he's
so
not.
many that start that way too. If you look at like
Yeah.
Chloe and How
Cardi, look at
and
Cardi.
Cardi B, like
Endless grinding, endless.
and it keeps going, and you see how hard they work even now because they remember how hard they had to work back then, and they're like, what I'm not doing is going back to that. So
Facts.
you totally understand as a person who works that hard. So I think that's great. I want to ask you a fun question.
Okay, ask me.
Which product do you think you most relate to? Like if it became a symbol of your personality as a business owner, as a person, as a, I don't know, maybe as a creative, like which of your products would you say represents you?
No one has ever asked me that. But I would say it is my Rejuvenate Calmative Mist. I think I have a bottle here. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
So this is not the new labeling, but you can see. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The new label is a little better to read. But this, I feel like one of my customers called it a fresh breath for the soul, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it is lavender hydrosol, lavender and ylang essential oils. So they're very calming and they promote feelings of well-being. So once you spray it over yourself, it's like you just take a breath and then just everything relaxes at the same time. And you're just like, okay, like I feel like my personality, that's the person I am naturally. Like what happens in the world, like when I'm frantic is another story, but like that's what I want to bring, that feeling of calm, that feeling of peace, of really just love in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I love this spray because it just kind of makes me feel like myself. Like it just kind of lets the world drop away. And in that moment, you just have like it centers you and it gives you this sense of calm and a little bit of peace. So if you're working, or it actually works really good on children, if they're like a little hyperactive, and you just spray them, and it works great on autistic children. I have a niece that's autistic, and that's why I created it. When she was a baby, she had surgery and she was just real fussy and cranky and she just couldn't get to sleep. And so I created this and it would just calm her down enough
To like,
so that she could like drift off to sleep. Yeah. So this definitely works in the office if you want to kind of get into this, before you sit down to work, kind of into this flow state where you're calm, you're relaxed, but you're still alert. I think that's it.
that's beautiful. My dad literally just asked me for lavender yesterday, so that's one that's I'm gonna give to him.
Okay.
I think that's great. He has a hard time falling asleep, and I think a lot of us have these moments where like when you become stressed and it might tamper with your
Yeah.
sleep patterns, and that
Yeah.
seems to be like the issue for him in this moment. And I think that would be perfect for him, especially the way you described it. I think that's beautiful.
No, definitely. This is really great. Men actually love this one. Kind of like spray your pillow, or like after you take a shower at night, like, you know, get all the comforters and just like spritz your pillow or spritz your comforter, and you will sleep very well. Definitely very well.
More of a specific question. Would you spray that in the shower before you get in there, the way people do in like spas and they have like the eucalyptus and things hanging around?
I mean, you could, but I think it would last longer if you sprayed it after,
Okay.
you know. But you could spray it in the shower for kind of like the ambiance, but I think the mist of the shower would kind of like swallow it,
Okay.
but
Gotcha.
it'll still be there.
I'll keep that in mind.
But you know, I could make another product, a shower tablet. One of, like, someone asked me for this, where it's like a little, like a, almost looks like an Alka-Seltzer tablet, and you drop it in the shower before you start, and
Oh
then
yeah.
as it dissolves, it kind of gives you that mist, that aroma, that
Yeah.
spa
Do you see
aroma.
the development happening?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It's all it's all the same. Like this is, and I, you know, like once you have a workshop, it's like a kitchen. You have all of these ingredients, and it's just how you put them together.
Yes. It's malleable. You can change it to whatever you need it to be for that moment.
Exactly.
Love it. Okay. This would be my second fun question.
Okay, go for
um,
it.
what do you think Cecile would think of your business now?
Oh, she loved it. She really loved it. I think that she would be, I laugh and I say she passed away a few years ago. But I'm like, she is feeling real cute in heaven right now. Um, she's like, do you see how they loved me? Do you see? I think she would be great. Like, my aunt is so funny. Like, she was in her wheelchair and she passed when she was like 90, 91, I think. And she was in her wheelchair with her high heels on. And we used to tell her sometimes, like, Auntie, you know, you should wear, like, even her slippers had heels. We're like, wear flats. And she's like, I'll trip if I wear flats.
Oh my goodness.
You know, like, she's just feeling cute and she's feeling herself right now. So yeah, I think she would like it.
I love that. I'm gonna use that for any reason at all. I don't even have a wheelchair, but
Yeah, she no, she lived in high heels. Everything is beautiful.
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your business with us. I
Absolutely.
encourage everyone to shop Cecile's Bath and Body. I'm definitely going to do that after this interview. It was so great talking with you. Can you tell people how they can find you on any platform and how they can find your website?
Sure. You can find me at cecilesbathandbody.com or .net. And Instagram, Cecile's Bath and Body spelled out. And you know, email me. My DMs are open. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. I actually specialize in custom. So if there's anything that you want, or you have a product that you like, but maybe it's like, I like X product, but only if it didn't have avocado oil. If only it would be like this. I actually specialize in making that for people. So that they can get a whole natural product that actually suits them, and you know, is aware of any allergies or particular likes or dislikes that they have. So yeah, you can email me anytime, also at info@cecilesbathandbody.net.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We encourage you to visit our website to learn more about Glassroots or shop our online gift store for beautiful glass products made by our artists, instructors, and students. Stay tuned to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for our next episode of the Workerspace Lecture Series.